Have you ever wondered why Nigeria has never had a government that came into being through credible, free, and fair elections? Let's take a trip down memory lane. Nigeria attained her independence from colonial Britain in 1960. For the greater part of the 50 years since then, Nigeria has had difficulty achieving a credible electoral democracy. Our first attempt at an electoral process was the post-independence government of Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa. The second attempt was in 1979 when Alhaji Shehu Shagari became president.
Federal Republic of Nigeria.
That as President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
That as the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
I will discharge my duties.
I will discharge my duties.
To the best of my ability.
To the best of my ability.
Faithfully.
Faithfully.
And in accordance with the Constitution.
And in accordance with the Constitution.
Those two elections were neither free nor fair, but as a young nation, it had hoped that with maturity, Nigerians would rise to the challenge of building a strong electoral system that would produce political leaders in free, fair, and credible electoral contests. Unfortunately, that hope has remained largely unfilled to this day.
Elections during come, opposite plan them very well. Him take all politicians, we rule Nigeria before. Disable politicians, we spoil Nigeria before. Opposite carry all of them they are now.
Perhaps the only free and fair election was the MKO Abiola elections.
And you want MKO?
Who's MKO?
Abiola.
And they scuttled it.
To walk on any street of Nigeria with me without security and see how long it will take before people actually lynch him. That is the type of leader that Babangida
is. Then we had another opportunity to do it right. This time in 1999. The elections that brought in retired General Olusegun Obasanjo. And then again in 2003, Obasanjo's re-elections. Both were rigged. Think we had enough? No. In 2007, they did it again. It was rigging galore. Nigerians once more went to the polls, but the election that brought in Alhaji Musa Aradua and Dr. Goodluck Jonathan only succeeded in repeating the fraud and manipulations witnessed in the 1999 and 2003 earlier elections of Obasanjo and his PDP administration. Now, in 2011, we are about to go to the polls once more. What's it going to be? This is Tunji Lardner. He's Executive Director of West African Non-Governmental Network, WANGONET. A while back, Lardner and his team stumbled on some interesting figures. Interesting, questionable figures concerning the number of polling booths as published by Nigeria's Independent Electoral Commission, INEC.
Our curiosity was based on the project how the elections were rigged. We were curious about how the 2007 elections, which probably go down in history as the worst elections we've had, by all accounts. And so it was really how did they do it? It wasn't just enough to say the elections were rigged. There must have been some kind of a methodology to it. And so, very basic, start with the numbers. We're trying to figure out how many people voted, where they voted, and we suddenly quickly realized that there was this magical number of 120,000 polling stations scattered around Nigeria at the point at which people were supposed to vote. And to each one, ascribed a value of about 500 voters. But what set my own interest was, why was it 120,000? Why was it not 111,405? It just seemed too neat a number. And then we decided, okay, let's look at the database, look at the record. So we went to the INEC site, and we discovered there were some anomalies there. Primarily the fact that you couldn't see the entire database itself. You couldn't see a full list of it, so that if you made an inquiry about XYZ local government, in a particular state, it will show you that. And if that was the basis for your inquiry, you'll be satisfied. But as we dug deeper into the actual data sets, we realized that that XYZ number, or that XYZ polling unit or polling station, was actually mentioned about 40 times.
The Wangonet investigation of the ghost polling booths must have tickled the curiosity of Mr. Lardner and his team. They decided to go several steps further, conducting some serious research on electoral malpractice in Nigeria. What they came up with was mind-boggling. The Wangonet research initially revealed 5 salient points that stood out in election rigging. Basically, the numbers game, the role of the security agencies, the role of the politicians, the role of the INEC, and the role of the citizens. We heard about the numbers game earlier. Let's now move on to the issues of security. The Nigerian security forces have been accused of complicity in the issue of election malpractice, from being illegal bodyguards of corrupt politicians to actually running off with ballot boxes. The stories of police involvement are widespread. Innocent Chukwuma, Executive Director of CLEAN, throws more light on the issue of state security apparatus vis-a-vis electoral fraud.
We don't have really a police force that is democratic or that uses the strategy of democratic policing in doing this work. What we have is a police force that is based on regime policing philosophy. And what do I mean by that? It's a philosophy of policing that emphasizes that the police do whatever government in power tells them to do, as opposed to democratic policing, where they are accountable to multiple constituencies, including the law, the parliament, the executive, and of course, the people. So when you have a police force that performs or works under an environment where the government tells it basically what to do, and that government, especially those who are running it, are themselves candidates in an election, you can only guess what will happen. And you also have a section 9.5 of the Police Act that vests operational control of the police on the president. And your guess is as good as mine, the kind of operational control a president who himself is a candidate in an election will be given to the.
It would seem the police are not the only state apparatus found wanting in the discharge of its duties. Another niggling issue in the quest for credible electoral processes in Nigeria is the performance or non-performance of the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC). The body saddled with the responsibility of executing credible elections has in recent times been seen to be guilty of partiality, illegalities, and other forms of dubious conduct in the carrying out of its duties.
Justice Wise reports on reforming the electoral process is a good document, right, that addresses some of these issues, like you said, right? Instead of the INEC commissioner being appointed by the president, it was supposed to be appointed by the Judicial Council, I think, and widespread consultation. There had to be a process. But the incumbent government did not want that, and they appointed a person of their own choosing, right? And so we have now focused intently on this person, as if this person can single-handedly deliver good elections. And I think it's an unfair set of expectations to burden Professor Jega with, because he is working within a system. And that system is working within a larger system, i.e. the Nigerian system. So whatever happens in INEC and the way INEC chooses to operate, succeed or fail, is really a larger indictment on the larger society. But somehow we expect that INEC will be separate and apart from the dynamics of the larger society. It's extremely difficult to do that. But which does not in any way exculpate INEC, right? They've made a lot of mistakes in my own estimation, and a lot of people are thinking about that too publicly. And we can only hope that we know they're doing their best, however, but the question is, can they button down all the logistical challenges that would enable us guarantee that the 70 million plus voters who registered over the last 2 months will actually cast their votes, have those votes recorded in a safe manner, open and transparent manner, and that the results when they're released will be acceptable, will be credible, and will be subject to international standards.
The Nigerian political class is not left out. They, more than anyone else, are seen as the true beneficiaries of election malpractice. Why do they go to such great lengths, most time violent and immoral, just to acquire and cling to power?